The story takes place in a peaceful suburban neighborhood in America. The Collins family lives in a large, beautiful home with a well-kept lawn, giving the appearance of a perfect life. However, under the surface, there's a lot of tension and secrets within the family. David and Sarah's marriage is starting to fall apart, but neither of them is saying anything. Their son, Ethan, is in college and has no idea that something is wrong at home. While the house may look perfect from the outside, inside, it's a different story. Hidden emotions and secrets are slowly building up, waiting to explode. David seems like the perfect father. He's successful, calm, and always seems to have it together. He's a well-respected businessman, and everyone thinks he's the ideal husband but inside, David is struggling. He feels unappreciated and wants more validation in his life. His marriage to Sarah has become distant, and he doesn't feel connected to his son, Ethan, as much as he used to. This emptiness in his life pushes David to make dangerous decisions, and his secret affair with Ethan's girlfriend, Tara, becomes a way for him to feel wanted and powerful again. Sarah is the loving, devoted wife and mother. She cares deeply for her family and is the glue that holds everything together. To everyone around her, she appears to be the perfect wife and mother. She's unaware of the growing distance between her and David, and she doesn't know about the affair he's having. Sarah believes her family is strong and doesn't realize how fragile everything is. But as the story goes on, Sarah's world will come crashing down when she discovers the truth. Ethan is a typical college student, optimistic, trusting, and in love with his girlfriend, Tara. He admires his father and looks up to him, believing their family is perfect. Ethan is happy in his relationship with Tara and has no idea that something is wrong between his parents. As the story unfolds, Ethan begins to realize that both Tara and David have been hiding things from him, and the shocking truth will change his life forever. Tara is attractive, sweet, and supportive. On the surface, she's the perfect girlfriend to Ethan, and they've been together for over a year. But Tara has a secret. She's become attracted to Ethan's father, David. At first, it's a harmless flirtation, but it soon turns into a full-blown affair. Tara tries to keep up the appearance of being the perfect girlfriend while secretly becoming involved with David. As her relationship with both men deepens, Tara finds herself caught in a web of lies, and her actions will lead to devastating consequences. When she's around Ethan, she acts cold and distant, almost as if she's avoiding him. She seems less warm than before, and their interactions feel awkward, like something is unspoken between them. These strange behaviors don't go unnoticed by Ethan. He tries to brush off his concerns, thinking it's just stress or maybe something to do with their busy lives. However, the more he observes, the more he senses that something isn't quite right. Sometimes, he catches Tara looking at his father in a way that feels a little too intense, and other times, he notices both David and Tara acting strangely when they're alone together. Tension between them is hard to ignore, but Ethan doesn't want to jump to conclusions, so he tries to dismiss it. Finally, Ethan decides to confront both David and Tara separately. He first approaches his father, asking if something's going on. David reassures him, brushing off any concerns with a simple excuse about work stress and the pressures of life. David's calm demeanor and confident reassurances ease Ethan's mind, and he starts to feel silly for even questioning things. Next, Ethan confronts Tara. He asks her if there's something wrong with their relationship, why she's been acting cold lately. Tara, too, denies any issues, claiming that everything is fine. She explains that she's just been busy and perhaps a little stressed with her own life. And again, Ethan is convinced that he's just imagining things. He wants to trust them both, and their reassuring words seem enough to ease his growing suspicions, even though a nagging feeling in his gut tells him something is still off. The tension finally reaches a breaking point when Ethan accidentally overhears a conversation between David and Tara. He's walking through the house late one evening when he hears their voices coming from the living room. Their words are hushed, but he can make out some of what they're saying. What he hears shocks him to his core. David and Tara are talking about their affair, confirming everything Ethan has feared. Ethan's world shatters in that moment. He can hardly believe what he's hearing. The woman he's been in a relationship with for over a year, and the father he's always admired, have been secretly involved with each other behind his back. The betrayal is overwhelming, and Ethan is left standing in shock, struggling to process the reality of what he has just uncovered. He feels torn between anger, confusion, and heartbreak. Trust he had in both of them is shattered, and he no longer knows who to turn to or what to believe. This confrontation sets off a chain of events that will ultimately unravel the entire family, as Ethan now has to face the painful truth about the people he loved and trusted the most. David and Tara's affair starts off casually at a family gathering. They chat for the first time, and David finds himself drawn to Tara's youthful energy and beauty. Tara, in turn, is attracted to David's maturity, his power, and his success. What begins as innocent conversation soon turns into more frequent meetings. David finds excuses to be around Tara, and she begins to spend more time at his office, often running into him when Ethan, David's son, is not around. At first, their time together feels exciting and harmless. They share lunch, talk about their lives, and enjoy each other's company. Slowly, their bond grows deeper. What started as simple flirting turns into something more intimate. Tara and David can't resist their growing attraction, and before long, they're having a full-blown affair, keeping it hidden from everyone around them. As the affair continues, both David and Tara feel a mix of guilt and excitement. They know it's wrong, but the secrecy makes it thrilling. David feels a rush of emotions, enjoying the attention and affection he's receiving from Tara, but he also knows he's risking his marriage and family. He starts to feel more anxious, trying hard to keep the affair a secret from his wife, Sarah. But his desire for Tara grows stronger, and the guilt becomes harder to bear. Tara, on the other hand, feels increasingly entitled to David's attention. As their relationship deepens, she begins to feel more confident and thinks she deserves more from David. She spends more time with him, pushing the limits of their secret relationship. At the same time, she continues to pretend to be the perfect girlfriend to Ethan, hiding her connection with David from him. David's lies to his wife, Sarah, grow more complicated, and he starts to feel trapped. Tara's boldness increases as she becomes more involved in his life, and she begins to think she can manage both relationships without anyone finding out. But the more they hide the affair, the more dangerous it becomes. Both David and Tara are getting deeper into a web of lies, unaware that their secret is about to come to light, leading to shocking consequences. As Ethan's suspicion grows stronger, and the truth about David and Tara's affair starts to come closer to the surface, David is consumed with panic and fear. The thought of losing everything, his family, his reputation, and the woman he's been hiding this affair with, pushes him to the edge. The guilt that's been building inside him over the course of the affair now turns into overwhelming anxiety. David feels trapped, believing that there's no way out of this mess. His world is crumbling, and he sees only one way to preserve his life as he knows it, to keep the secret hidden at any cost. One evening, the inevitable confrontation happens. Ethan, having put the pieces together, demands answers from his father. David's calm exterior cracks under the pressure. The confrontation turns heated, with Ethan's accusations hanging heavy in the air. David, now overcome with guilt, frustration, and anger, lashes out. He feels cornered, and his emotions long suppressed explode. He's no longer the composed businessman he once was. He's a desperate man clinging to the last vestiges of his crumbling life. In this moment of weakness, Tara, who has already become more open about her feelings toward David, stands by his side. She encourages him, urging him to take drastic action to keep everything under control. Tara, no longer hiding her own desperation, feeds into David's spiraling emotions, reinforcing his belief that he has no choice but to eliminate the threat that Ethan now represents. The once perfect father-son bond is now shattered, and David, in his turmoil, decides to take the ultimate step to ensure that his life and his affair remain secret. Consumed by a toxic mix of rage, confusion, and fear of being exposed, David makes a shocking and fatal decision. He must end the situation once and for all. The thought of losing Tara to Ethan's revelation is too much for him to bear. In a fit of uncontrollable anger, David confronts Ethan. Their argument escalates, and in the heat of the moment, David's emotions overwhelm him. The argument turns violent, with David pushing Ethan to the edge. In a desperate outburst, David grabs a nearby object, something that can be used as a weapon, and strikes Ethan. The impact is brutal, and the pain is immediate. Ethan, in shock and struggling to comprehend what's happening, is unable to defend himself. In a twisted moment of rage and panic, David continues his assault until Ethan lies lifeless before him. David, now horrified by what he's just done, stands over his son's body, overwhelmed by the reality of his actions. David quickly scrambles to cover his tracks, attempting to make the murder look like an accident. He stages the scene, trying to create a narrative that would explain Ethan's death without arousing suspicion. But the damage has already been done. David knows that nothing will ever be the same again. The murder sends shockwaves through the family and the community. The once seemingly perfect family is now fractured beyond repair. As the truth about David and Tara's affair begins to emerge, the deception becomes clear. The people closest to David, including Sarah, his wife, are left in a state of disbelief. They struggle to understand how this could have happened, and the once stable life they had built together crumbles into chaos. David's guilt is unrelenting. He can't escape the consequences of his actions, and as the investigation into Ethan's death deepens, the affair is exposed to the world. David's desperate attempt to hide his secret has not only cost him his son's life, but it has destroyed everything he held dear. The tragedy of Ethan's death ripples out, leaving behind a trail of devastation that will haunt the family forever. The death of Ethan Collins sends shockwaves through the community, leaving everyone in disbelief. At first, the police treat Ethan's death as a tragic accident. David, visibly shaken by the loss of his son, insists that the incident was a terrible mistake. The family, including Sarah, is left to grieve, trying to make sense of the tragedy that has befallen them. Ethan's body is found in an area of the house that suggests a fall or some other accident, and with no immediate evidence pointing to foul play, the investigation seems to stall. However, as the investigation unfolds, detectives begin to notice oddities. There's a coldness to David's behavior that strikes them as peculiar. His calm, almost detached demeanor during the questioning doesn't match the expected grief of a father who has just lost his son. David repeatedly insists that Ethan's death was an unfortunate accident, but something about his story doesn't sit right with the detectives. His repeated attempts to downplay the severity of the situation, coupled with his inability to show deep emotional distress, raises flags. Tara, too, behaves strangely. While she initially seems devastated by Ethan's death, her emotions seem out of place at times. She avoids certain questions and deflects conversations about Ethan, showing an eerie level of composure. The detectives start to notice that her interactions with both David and the family are somewhat cold and rehearsed, and they begin to dig deeper into her relationship with the Collins family. As the investigation progresses, detectives start to piece together a series of troubling clues that suggest Ethan's death was not as accidental as it initially seemed. They uncover hidden messages between Tara and David, cryptic text conversations that hint at a much deeper connection than they were willing to admit. The phone records show frequent, secretive calls between the two that occurred at odd hours of the day, and their interactions seem to have escalated in intensity. Interviews with friends and acquaintances of the Collins family reveal that Tara and David's relationship had been far more than what anyone had initially thought. Some friends recall seeing the two acting unusually close at family gatherings, while others describe moments of tension between David and Ethan that were brushed off as normal father-son disagreements. The more the detectives uncover, the more they realize that Ethan's death was not just an accident, but the tragic result of a dangerous, hidden affair. Tara becomes a key witness in the investigation. Initially, she attempts to maintain her innocence, but the mounting evidence eventually forces her to come forward. She admits to her affair with David, describing the relationship in stark detail. Her conflicting emotions add another layer of complexity to the case. Tara explains that she had been in love with David, but she also acknowledges that she was torn between the two men, her feelings for David and her connection with Ethan. She confesses that her actions ultimately led to Ethan's tragic death, though she claims she never meant for things to spiral so far out of control. Tara's testimony shocks everyone. She reveals that during the confrontation between father and son, she was in the house and she witnessed the anger and desperation that led to Ethan's death. Her admission of involvement only deepens the mystery surrounding the murder. The detectives now have to unravel the emotional chaos and betrayal that led to this tragedy, and the truth comes crashing down on the Collins family. The fallout from the investigation is swift and severe. David, once respected and admired, is arrested and charged with his son's murder. The media quickly picks up the story, sensationalizing the details of the affair, the betrayal, and the devastating consequences that followed. The once idyllic image of the Collins family is shattered, and the truth about their hidden lives is now out in the open for the world to see. Sarah, devastated by the loss of her son and the betrayal by her husband, she struggles to come to terms with the fact that David, the man she trusted, could have been hiding such a dark secret. Her grief is compounded by the shame and embarrassment she now feels, knowing that the affair was not just a fleeting mistake, but a years-long betrayal that led to the destruction of their family. The community is left in shock, and the Collins friends and relatives feel betrayed by both David and Tara. Many wonder how they could have missed the signs and whether there was anything they could have done to prevent the tragedy. The emotional toll on everyone involved is immense, and the family's once perfect life is destroyed in the aftermath. As the case unfolds in court, the truth about David and Tara's affair and the resulting murder becomes public knowledge. The investigation and the trial serve as a painful reminder of the consequences of betrayal and the tragic, far-reaching impact it can have on everyone involved. David Collins is arrested for the murder of his son, Ethan. The news shocks everyone who once saw him as a successful businessman and loving father. David is charged with first-degree murder and faces a long prison sentence. Throughout the trial, he remains calm and emotionless, offering little explanation for his actions. His life, once full of success and stability, is now destroyed. Tara Moore's role in the affair and the murder is also uncovered. She tries to downplay her involvement at first, but eventually admits to everything. Tara is charged as an accessory to murder, though her sentence is lighter than David's. Throughout the process, she shows little regret for what she's done. She remains focused on herself and her feelings, rather than on the pain she caused others. As the truth spreads, friends and family turn their backs on the Collins family. The community is shocked to learn that what they thought was a perfect family was built on lies. Sarah Collins, David's wife, is left devastated by the betrayal. She had built a life with David and trusted him completely. The revelation that he had been having an affair with her son's girlfriend, which led to Ethan's murder, is too much for her to handle. She feels heartbroken, angry, and confused. The loss of Ethan, combined with the breakdown of her marriage, forces Sarah to face a painful reality. She must learn to live without the man she thought she knew and without her son. The emotional pain is overwhelming, and she feels guilty for not noticing the signs earlier. Sarah now has to find a way to rebuild her life from scratch. Her family is torn apart, and she is left to deal with the aftermath alone. The emotional scars from the betrayal will stay with her forever, and she struggles to figure out how to move forward without the family she once had.